So, summer is in full swing here in New York State. It's pretty beautiful out when it's not raining, and the birds are chirping, and yet I do still find myself inside scrolling reels. And this is a problem that probably everybody has. No one needs to speak more on it. The thing that I find myself looking for when I'm scrolling is like something to like jolt me out of it. Normally, the thing that does it is like something creative or inspirational, or I'll see someone like make something with music or with code that makes me want to like close my phone and jump into it. But sometimes the thing that kicks me off is it's just so bad. It's just so, I don't know. It doesn't help me. Like, I can just see through the matrix briefly, and I'm like, what the fuck am I doing?
Lighthearted.
Why am I watching this?
I have never felt as personally attacked.
What am I gaining from this experience exactly? Like, take a step back and zoom out for myself.
My chip is the only thing in that entire bag that is worth anything.
And there's actually a bunch of shit that I'm supposed to be doing. And frankly, like, spending more time staring at screens, whether it's the small screen or the big screen or the vertical screen, none of it is helping. And the things that I need to do are like in the real world, like doing the dishes or like going outside and touching grass. And I guess I'm going to use this opportunity to talk about some of the things that I've been thinking about for the past few weeks. I packed up my bags and I made some time with my collaborators and my projects and turned all my notifications off and headed up to Maine. And this was good because it gave me a bunch of time to think about some of the things that I've been reading lately. And I don't know, I just want to kind of like show that you can write code and be a computer boy and also like ride your motorcycle and touch grass. Like you can go a week without writing a commit or pushing something to GitHub and everything goes fine. I'm here to tell you that. All right, so I'm here in New Hampshire. I had a nice drive yesterday. It was like 6 hours or so. The last hour was pretty much all rain, but I'm dry now, look at me. And it was nice to sleep in a hotel and not camp through the rain. So that was nice. So I knew, even as a teenager reading Snow Crash, that one day I wanted to ride a motorcycle. And I was lucky enough to grow up. My uncle dropped off a little like CC Chinese dirt dauber when I was like 11 or 12, and I learned to ride on that thing. So I have some basis of riding motorcycles, but I'm 33 years old and I don't have a car. It is really nice to like be analog for a little while and like have a couple hours. Got like 16 hours of just thinking time. Next curve. How much gas to give, which gear to be in. And there's just something so like meditative and immediate about riding the motorcycle. Like, I mean, I guess it's really nice to find some high stakes. Like, to have something that really I mean, the thing that is on the line is your life, right? If you fuck up, you're dead. And there's not a lot of things that are like that. It really, I don't know, it clears my mind and really puts a point on things. I know Hunter S. Thompson has that poem, that stanza about pushing things to the edge and to the limit. And I don't know, the stillness that grants you. But coming from computers, coming from reading books, riding the motorcycle is like almost exactly the opposite thing to my brain. And camping is a similar thing, although camping has a lot of overlaps with the computer. Like, part of the reason that I love camping and I love riding the motorcycle is like the puzzle of how do I take my setup on the road? How do I make it small enough and easy enough to set up anywhere that I am? And that's a lot like playing with your dot files or like working on your development setup or like any of those things where you can like nerd out about it all winter and then spring rolls along and you get the opportunity to like test them out and put them, you know, how Am I able to deal with certain levels of cold? I remember a trip up to Vermont. It was like 33 degrees one of the nights. It was like early May, maybe like late April. Do I have the stuff to survive a situation like that? And then the other part of it, there's like a friction in doing hard things. And I'm not saying riding a motorcycle is particularly hard, but pushing yourself to do things that you didn't know that you could do, or like pushing yourself a little further, when you accomplish those things, they feel particularly special. And I do want to, I'm showing this entire clip of me setting up camp. I was tempted to like speed it up or like do some cuts or whatever, but like it really only takes 5 minutes to get everything off the bike and assembled, and it's not stressful, and I've done it like a couple hundred times. Like, it's not a big deal, and you can go do it too. You know what I mean? Like, go out and camp in the woods or whatever your equivalent of it. Go take a hike or go fishing. Or just because you're good at the computer doesn't mean you can't go outside. And like, that seems so silly and like not a very inspirational message, but the wisdom that you get from being in the world, from turning off the screens, from ignoring notifications, from like intentionally focusing your attention on things that are in a slightly slower time scale, things that remind you what it is to be human and be on this earth and contribute to it. Like, the frequencies that come from light through green leaves is very different from the frequency of light that comes through the screens that you're staring at all day. And I'm not saying that any one is particularly better than the other, and like, it can be whatever you want it to be, but maybe try it out a little bit. And also, it's not that hard and it's not that difficult, and it's not like you don't have to be an outdoors person, right? It's all the same technical puzzles and trials as solving things in code and in software, but made 3D. And you're pushing your body to its limits sometimes, or you're seeing how smart you can be, how creative you can be to get yourself warm or keep yourself dry or get food or get water in a place that you've never been to before. And those are real adventures worth having. And there's also, like, I feel very specifically refilled, like rejuvenated after spending time outside. It's like it gives me specifically the thing that makes me good at using the computer for some reason. I don't know exactly what the, like, math or biology or psychology is going on there. But the answer to being burnt out on the computer isn't to like do more computer. Where my instinct is like, oh, maybe I'll just like play video games and that's relaxation. But it's not actually relaxation. It's a lot more like just staring at a screen, a different screen with a different intention. I forget. I think the quote, it's like you can't change your actions with your thoughts, but you can change your thoughts with your actions. Like, pushing yourself out the door. For me, getting on the motorcycle, getting everything packed up, picking a place on a map, and not planning too much in advance, like not knowing exactly what day or what hour I'm going to come back necessarily, giving myself space to have an adventure, to like make mistakes, to make a wrong turn and figure it out on the fly. Like, that is so crucial to me. And I've done travel before with the type of personality who wants to like plan every single thing out in advance. And I know why people like that. And I understand that for a lot of people, it comes from a place of anxiety and a place of wanting to have comfort and to like control your circumstances. And part of the exercise for me of doing this is like letting go of that need to control my circumstances, letting go of that need to know what I'm going to do every second, to like fully submit to what my mood is and what the weather teaches and what the moment has and what people are around me and like, you know, happenstance and synchronicity and moving slowly and appreciating the things around me. These are things that like have to be approached with intention. I try to build systems that like support those core things, right? So if I want to pay more attention to things around me, I might do photography, or I might do watercolors. Watercolors are a great way to just like let go. I love them because you can't really be precise. It's similar to what I was just talking about. You have to give yourself up to what the watercolors want to do. It's like water flowing on a page, and you can control it to some extent. But for me, it's a lot more exciting to like see the generative qualities, the unexpected blending together, and what happens when the pigments kind of interrelate and flow, and the unexpected colors that happen. Like that's all the fun part to me. And then trying to see the world around me, to see the light through the trees, to see the specific green. This is like a mechanism that brings me back towards that original intention, which is like to be a person in the world, to like give the things attention that they deserve, that maybe my mind wasn't giving them before, that was causing me to get a little burnt out on like problem solving on the computer, or this like intellectual kind of thinking. But it's at the same time, like as I'm doing these drawings, obviously I'm thinking about like what I read in the book earlier today. I was in Portland. It was amazing. I got there I think Thursday morning, and I dropped my stuff off at my friend's house. It was amazing and hilarious and funny, where he just gave me his door code, and I just like entered the door code and dropped my books off and then left. I didn't even see my buddy yet. And then I headed off to the bookstore, headed to print in Portland, and I picked up this amazing book called Natural Magic, which is about Charles Darwin and Emily Dickinson and naturalism, and a kind of like combination of scientific thinking and appreciation for the magic of nature. And it kind of hit me at this is another thing, like I walked into the bookstore knowing that I was just going to buy one book that I was going to read for my trip, and I was going to, whatever it was going to hit me. You know what I mean? So I'm like making space for synchronicity. I'm making space, like I'm in this bookshop. What's the thing I gravitate to? So I gravitated towards this Natural Magic book, and I'm really, really, really enjoying it. Like it's different enough from the other stuff I've been reading that it feels fun to read, but it's like related enough to the stuff I'm already reading where like I can tie it in and have fun, like relating it to other ideas I've been thinking about. And then, I was hanging out with friends and reading the book, and I eventually got to some portions on Emily Dickinson, and it's talking about, she was in Amherst, Massachusetts. And I think to myself, I'm driving through New England right now. I could just stop in Amherst, Massachusetts, and like go see the Emily Dickinson house myself, right? So I'm continuing to follow that thread of synchronicity, and I wouldn't have been able to if I had made the plans all up ahead of time, right? Like if I knew what I was doing on day 3 or whatever. But instead I'm following the trajectory that was like I found through a book in a bookshop that I like stumbled into because it was the closest one to my friend's apartment, and like I'm leaving space for reality is what it feels like. And there's a temptation to try and control and anticipate and plan and kind of rush towards things that I am trying to consciously avoid. Like I'm trying to cultivate a certain way of being in the world, and knowing that this time, every single time I've taken space like this, I go back to the computer and I go back to my projects and my client work with like better ideas and better work. And I don't know, I mean, I'm sure there's all sorts of different theories of psychology of what makes that happen, but it's not talked about enough in the like grind set world of like, all right, just take your Adderall and wake up early and, take, whatever stuff you got, what are they doing? Cold plunge and, you know what I mean? Wake up at 5 a.m. and write your intentions in the morning and do all these 500 habits of successful CEOs, and like, maybe, I don't know, maybe I'm not reading right, but like go to the woods. Go spend 2 days in the woods doing nothing. That would get you so much more than reading another self-help book or taking another substance or any of those things. Like, take the time for yourself to sit in your own being and figure out like what are the thoughts that come to you once you've given yourself like a couple hours of space. Like, what are the things you think about once you've stared into a fire for a couple of hours? And maybe those things are closer to like your real interests. Maybe is the theory. I think so, maybe. But all of this is to say that like getting on my motorcycle and going on a little trip, it seems so inconsequential, and it does not seem like sexy self-help productivity work. But this is some good shit. I'm giving you the good stuff right here. Like, this is, you can have this for free. I've done a lot of research on like how to exist in this world and stay sane, and this is one of the better ways I've found to do it. And so the practice is basically to stay in tune with the seasons. And in a lot of, I mean, ever since I was a kid, summer was always the season of fun. You know what I mean? You work hard all year, and you earn, if you're good, if you work hard, you earn the ability in the summer to like hang out and have fun and do cool things. And if you don't do, like, some people just submit to that schedule they've been given of what project comes next, and I totally understand that, and I've been freelancing for a long time, so I know what it means to, how hard it is to tell a client, hey, I'm not going to be around this week, or hey, like, let's get this to a good point, and I'm going to take a week off. But you have to, right? If you haven't ever burnt out yet, if you haven't ever worked yourself to a state where you can't work anymore for a few days or a few weeks, I hope that you never have to experience that. But you can just listen to the people like me who have burnt out and like use these tools and nobody will. I'm pretty sure that people told me before I like burnt out, like, hey, just a little heads up, a little thing to look out for. And we all see how effective that was. So I don't know. Part of what I think is worth exploring is like what your equivalent is, you know what I mean? And there probably is something to do with like opposites and yin and yang of like whatever the work that you do is, like find an opposite thing that releases good energy for you to like offset and balance it. And for me, that's motorcycles and camping and watercolors and all the things that I just showed you and talked about. And I'm not saying that those are the things for you, but there is probably a space for each of those things. And what you want to look for, like what the motorcycle does is like I can't pick up my phone while I'm doing it. Pottery is another great one for this, because like your hands are dirty. Like you literally can't physically pick up your phone. So I would look for something that kind of holds you in a space. It's great to have something with stakes, right? And it doesn't have to be life or death, although that helps. That's a nice shortcut. But some good stakes to what you're doing so that you're like fully zoned in, so that instead of thinking about like 2 or 3 or 4 different things, like you're kind of forced to think about one thing. I've gotten this before in sports. If I would play like soccer or basketball, like you're not really thinking about a ton else. You know what isn't good for that? Baseball. I spend a lot of time in the outfield thinking about my life. So, I mean, anyway, choose something that like keeps you focused and keeps you centered around a concept. And offset your work time with like some good play. Like I know everyone wants to work so hard. I know everyone wants to be a good colleague and a good coworker and wants to get a promotion and wants to get a raise and wants to land as many clients as possible. And I'm telling you that in order to do that, you have to give yourself this space. And I wish that people would be more honest about that and talk about that more. And I feel like maybe there's some sense that like vacation is for wealthy people or privileged people or people who don't have real blue collar jobs. But like this is what it's all about, dude. This is like riding through the woods, hanging out with your friends, spending some time in the fresh air. That, I mean, you know that, right? It's not all just code and getting the fastest, time on monkey type and getting the best score on LeetCode and nah, dude. And not only that, I'm not saying it's one or the other. I'm saying you can do both. I think that's like the most important thing, is like you're not tied to one archetype. You can craft out anything you want in this world. This is a truly like a build your own character situation. It's pretty fucking cool. It's pretty radically cool, and I encourage you to take advantage of that and like be whatever you think might spark joy for you, to try something that you thought might be hard or might be impossible or might be scary, right? Like when I first got the motorcycle, it didn't come naturally to me. Like there were moments when I when I had the Grom, I crashed. I had to pick myself up literally and get back on and say, okay, I'm gonna conquer this thing. But through conquering it, it felt even sweeter. You know what I mean? And I'm feeling that a little bit more as I'm doing more hiking and trying to do longer camping trips and things like that. Like, I mean, the point of this whole life is like just push yourself, see how far you can go, and fall in love with the surprising answer. All right, bye.